Hello guys, in this video, we will talk about climate change. But first, let's watch a short film about climate change.
Right now, we're facing a man-made disaster of global scale. Our greatest threat in thousands of years, climate change. If we don't take action, the collapse of our civilizations and the extinction of much of the natural world is on the horizon. The world's people have spoken. Their message is clear. Time is running out.
The amount of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere now is 50% higher than it was in 1900. And not only are we piling in more and more carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, but we are chopping down the forests of the earth at a great rate. And the forests themselves are the most efficient consumers of carbon dioxide that there are on Earth. We're going to destroy the ground because the soil of a rainforest isn't very good. We are actually tampering with the climate of the Earth and with the very atmosphere that we breathe. When we talk about the disappearance of the ozone layer, we don't know what will happen when the ozone layer goes. The world has become so fragile that we cannot subject the Earth to the tortures we can now inflict upon it. When we talk about the greenhouse effect, we're talking about something that affects the entire Earth. And these problems are life and death problems. They go to the root of the viability of the planet itself. If there's one thing that is biologically certain about the human species is that it is a human species, one species.
If we don't stop the destruction of our natural world, nothing else will matter. Simply put, if we don't protect nature, we can't protect ourselves.
The only way we can solve a problem is by a human solution. Never can we sit back and wait for miracles to save us. Miracles don't happen. Sweat happens. Efforts happens. Thought happens.
And now, let's start discussing what is climate change. Here are the learning points. Climate change, global warming, cause of climate change, impacts of climate change, migration and adaptation. What is climate change? Climate change is attributed largely to the increasing levels of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. For a reason, phenomena such as the rise of the sea level, the frequency and the intensity of heat waves, droughts, and typhoons, as well as the alteration of agriculture, coastal, and marine ecosystem, output and productivity are affecting greatly the life and properties of many. Change in rainfall pattern pushes people to migrate to higher elevation. The rise of sea level floods coastal areas resources, such as mangroves and communities. The El Nino phenomenon reduces water availability and quality. The government has created the Philippines Council for Sustainable Development or PCSD in response to its 1992 Earth Summit commitments. The Interagency Committee on Climate Change or IACCC was established a year earlier in 1991. The Presidential Task Force on Climate Change, Adaptation and Migration (PTFCC) and the Advisory Council on Climate Change (ACCC) were formed in 2003. President Arroyo has made Green Philippines, which is also a chapter in the updated 2004 to 2010 Medium-Term Philippines Development Plan. The Philippines has begun to pay attention to the adaptation side of climate change by promoting the change risk management initiatives.
And now, we will talk global warming. Global warming refers to long-term shifts in temperature and weather patterns. The current increase in temperature of the Earth's surface, both water and land, as well as its atmosphere, average temperature around the world have risen by 0.75 Celsius over the last 100 years. About two-thirds of this increase has occurred since 1975. Greenhouse gases from human activities are the most significant driver of observed climate change since the mid-20th century. The indicator characterizes emission of the major greenhouse gases resulting from human activities, the concentrations of these gases in the atmosphere, and how emission and concentration have changed over time. The majority of the world's emission result from electricity generation, transportation, and forms of energy production and use. Concentration of carbon dioxide, the other greenhouse gases in all atmosphere, have increased since the beginning of industrial era. Almost of increase in attribute to human activities. Climate forcing refers to change in the Earth's energy balance leading to either a warming or cooling effect over time. An increase in the atmospheric concentration of greenhouse gases produces a positive climate forcing to warming effect from 1990 to 2015. The total warming effect from greenhouse gases added by human to the Earth atmosphere increased by 37%. The warming effect associated with carbon dioxide alone increased by 30%.
Cause of climate change. Volcanic eruptions. When a volcano erupts, it throws out large volumes of sulfur dioxide, water vapor, dust, and ash into the atmosphere. Large volumes of gases and ashes can influence climatic patterns for years by increasing planetary reflectivity, causing atmospheric cooling. Ocean current. Ocean current move vast amounts of heat across the planet. Wind push horizontally against the sea surface and drive ocean current patterns. Interactions between the ocean and atmosphere can also produce phenomena such as El Niño, which occurs every 2 to 6 years. Changes in ocean circulation may affect the climate through the movement of CO2 into or out of the atmosphere. Earth orbital changes. The Earth makes one full orbit around the Sun each year. It is tilted at an angle 23.5 degrees to the perpendicular plane of its orbital path. Changes in the tilt of the Earth can lead to small but climatically important changes in the strength of the seasons. More tilt means warmer summers and colder winters. Less tilt means cooler summers and milder winters. Solar variations. The Sun is the source of energy for Earth's climate system. Although the Sun's energy output appears constant from an everyday point of view, small change over an extended period of time can lead to climate changes. Solar variations have performed a role in the past climate changes. The dominant product of fossil fuel combustion is carbon dioxide, a greenhouse gas. The build-up greenhouse gases in the atmosphere has led to an enhancement of the natural greenhouse effect.
And now, we will be discussing the impacts of climate change.
Extreme weather. Climate change causes a change in weather patterns, precipitation, sea level rise, and wildfire. Droughts and floods, a combination of change in precipitation and weather. Patterns bring out drought in one sector and great floods in neighboring areas. Shrinking of lakes, a decrease in precipitation causes lakes to decrease in size. Desertification. Millions of square kilometers of one agricultural land become barren. Shortage of food and water. Agriculture output in many regions of the world is become scarce because of droughts, desertification, heat waves, wildfires, and change in precipitation. Also, freshwater supplies are decreased too due to the melting of the shrinking of lakes and water contamination. Extinction of species. Mass extinction of species is one of the most troubling effects of climate change. Humans have the technology to help us adapt to the drastic change in weather patterns. Animals could not adapt to it.
Ocean acidification. The increasing pH of oceans due to carbon dioxide will affect marine life at the bottom of the food chain. As a result, the entire food chain is being affected, and eventually, land animals that are dependent on fish will suffer as well. Melting glaciers and polar ice caps. The polar ice caps and glaciers around the world play an essential role in regulating temperature by not only absorbing heat but also by reflecting the sun's light. Moreover, glaciers play an integral role in forming the world's perennial rivers, which are responsible for agriculture that much of the world population is dependent. Spread of disease and food poisoning. An increase in temperature will also spread malaria and dengue fever as well as several other diseases. Moreover, it will increase salmonella outbreaks.
The climate change. What is mitigation? Mitigation. These are two basic responses to address the potential harmful effects of climate change. Mitigation refers to an anthropogenic intervention to reduce the source or enhance the sink of greenhouse gases. Mitigation involves slowing down the rate at which greenhouse gases release into the atmosphere and reducing the magnitude of climate change. Some ways to alleviate the harmful effects of climate change include reducing fossil fuel use, promoting the use of renewable energy resources like geothermal energy, wind and solar energy, reducing deforestation, using more sustainable agricultural and forestry, putting a price in greenhouse gas emissions, slowing population growth, focusing research and development on innovations that lower the cost of clean energy alternative. What is adaptation? Adaptation, which refers to an adjustment in natural or human system in response to actual or expected climatic stimulation or their effects, if moderate harm or exploits beneficial opportunities. The means that adaptation involves anticipating the harmful effects of climate change that cannot be avoided and adjusting to these effects. Example of adaptation measures include using scarce water resources more efficiently, developing drought-tolerant crops, choosing tree species and forestry practices that are less vulnerable to storms and fires, community-based disaster risk reduction, seasonal climate forecasting, rainwater harvesting, capacity building through shoreline defense system design.